Welcome, folks. Welcome back. It's Tom again, your guy, TG here. Ice Cold Sports, America's Sports Show. Happy to be back with you. Uh, Last couple days, I've been trying to put out podcasts. I've been doing a couple live broadcasts. I have been unable, weirdly, to download it off of Instagram because this is what I do. I go on Instagram Live, I do the live show, and then it gets archived. I go to the archives. I'm able to download that, and I can post that. And that way I can do kind of a live show, but I can also post it as a podcast, yada, 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 yada. That hasn't been working. Just hasn't. So this is my attempt at doing just like a more normal version of a podcast. Not live, sadly. But whatever. First of all, Stanley Cup, Game 3. Panthers avoid going down 0-3. They win 3-2 in overtime. I mean, it was hard times there for a hot second, especially when they went down in this game 2-1. They were up 1-0. They go down 2-1. With less than 2 minutes left in the game, they scored the game-tying goal. It was looking real bad for half a second. Like they were about to go down 0-3, and it looked like it was about over. Not the case. Not the case. Heck of a performance by both goalies, honestly. Honestly, I get it. Adin Hill was the loser in this game, but he still himself had a heck of a night. 20 saves on the night. Bobrovsky had 25, of course. And then Verhaeghe knocks in an absolute missile, a rocket slap shot into the back of the net to win it. The series will stay in Florida. Both Miami teams, by the way, are in their finals, and they're both down 2-1 now. Although I'm going to say the Panthers have a little bit more momentum than the Heat do at the moment. But still, heck of a game after two real stinkers, where you had just blowout wins by the Knights in both games. Where I was like, are we going to get a good game eventually? We finally got a good game, which you got to make, NHL guys feel pretty good at the moment. Another topic I've been trying to breach last two broadcasts, I haven't been able to breach on the podcast officially, over the channels. And you know what? To a certain extent, that's good because I'm able to really collect my thoughts on this issue a little bit better, and kind of give it to you straight. As you may be aware, it was announced the other day, PGA, LIV Golf, the DP World Tour, they're combined together to one commercial entity. PGA is going to remain the same, whatever, but it's going to be all three are going to be working under the same for-profit umbrella. It's complicated. They don't even know how it's going to be worked out yet. Jay Monahan, who we're going to get to again in a second, he himself even came out and said, I don't know how this is going to work. We got to figure it out. This is all just kind of a bare bones framework we're working with at the moment. Couple different thoughts. Number one, we'll start with just the sports perspective. Simply, purely the sports perspective, which I know you can't really go for in this. But simply from the sports perspective, this makes sense. It makes sense. Now all the best players in the world are now back under one umbrella after LIV Golf was able to leech off a bunch of big names from the PGA Tour, and now a couple of those guys have won majors. And now after Brooks especially won the PGA Championship recently, it's a big win getting them back all under one umbrella. They're going to be playing for a lot more money in a lot more places. It can make the tour more interesting. All those things, I would say, are pretty good from a golf perspective, when it comes to the sport. However, in something like this, you can't really take it from simply a golf perspective because LIV Golf, as you probably are aware, is basically completely funded by the PIF, the Public Investment Fund, which is essentially like the bank accounts of Saudi Arabia. And a lot of accusations have been thrown out there that this is what's called sports washing, taking a bad reputation and kind of making it look shiny and good using sports. And it's especially heinous when it's something like Saudi Arabia, who's been accused of so many human rights violations from the regime, There has been accusations made that they have had ties to 9/11, the September 11th attacks back in 2001. Uh, it makes this so much more difficult to really go into it and to make sense of and make, and to really make right together. But first of all, I think it's tough when you're really quizzing the athletes on it, because they had Bryson DeChambeau on CNN. He goes on there and they basically make him like apologize for all the stuff that the Saudi Arabians are, may have been involved in, with 9/11 and all that kind of stuff, which was extremely awkward. And you could say, well, he deserves to do so because of all the different things, and that only makes sense that you would have to do that. He has to space the music to a certain extent. I get that, but it was still very awkward to see. It's tough because the United States is such a big ally to Saudi Arabia and the world stage, and then there's the argument from a geopolitical standpoint that with all of the issues that we're having with Russia and China, we need a ally like Saudi Arabia at this moment, especially when it comes to stabilizing the United States dollar. I don't want to get too far into that political play here, but I think that's important to understand when it comes to relations between the two countries. To that extent, you could argue that this partnership could be important to American national interests and keeping America strong, all that kind of stuff. That could be one way of making it easier to swallow this. But, man, it's just so tough. And I know other golf fans, have agreed that it's really tough to really justify having American sports be influenced by Saudi Arabian, policies and by sports washing and stuff like that. It makes this so much tougher. And I don't know. It's tough as a golf fan to really go into it. I know Rory McIlroy is very unhappy about this. He called himself a sacrificial lamb, which to an extent he is. I think a lot of PGA golfers are upset that they didn't take the money and run, especially now that it's all coming together, because for over a year they were told, hey, don't jump over. You're going to be banned from going back to the PGA. You're going to be blacklisted. And you're not going to play in the big tournaments and events and stuff like that. So you should turn down that $100 million, because they were giving out gigantic sums of money. And now golfers are looking at themselves and saying, wait, what? We could have made all this money and it would have came back, we would have been able to come back anyway. Jay Monahan goes on the air for a year and makes moral points about the PGA and LIV Golf and stuff like that, and then he acquiesces. And me and Zach Lyons on the live stream the other night, I tried to say, well, I don't respect Jay Monahan in this issue at all, but I mean, at the very least, he's acknowledging that he's being a hypocrite. No, he's not. I saw what he actually said, and that's not what he said. He wasn't like owning up to being like a hypocrite. He was still being just a hypocrite without really owning up to it. So, no, I'm not even broaching that. Monahan has to be one of the great villains in sports for a lot of people, by the way, right now. Even people who like this deal, because he screwed over a lot of the players who could have made a lot of money. And I feel more sympathetic towards the players, because hundreds of millions of dollars, that is generational wealth. That means your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids are going to be set. Your family is never going to be the same. You could, bust out your leg in a year and doesn't matter, because your family is going to be set forever, which is so important, is something to really consider for these individual players. I can understand taking the money from that perspective for a lot of these guys, but man, it's tough now looking back at it that they could have gotten that money, and then the PGA folds in on itself. It's tough. I'm not gonna come out here and make a big stand and say I'm never going to watch golf again. I'm going to watch golf. I'm going to watch the majors. I'm going to watch golf. I'm going to enjoy golf and have favorite golfers and stuff like that. But it feels kind of like the end of the innocence to a certain extent in American sports. You have these kind of foreign regimes that can kind of come in and kind of take power on American sports. I mean, we've seen that a little bit in the NBA with all the controversy over China regulating speech of Daryl Morey a few years back. But now with this kind of direct investment, people have asked, when is this going to reach to other sports? When is the NFL going to be in on this as well? Kind of like how the Premier League has been taken over by this kind of stuff, and F1 has been taken over. So, I don't know. It's such a complicated, tough issue. All I gotta say about that. Complicated, tough issue. I'm not happy at all about it. But it's one of those things you just shrug and throw up your arms and say, what can, the average sports consumer do, other than just stop watching golf, which is just a sad reality. Sad reality. And I don't plan on stopping watching golf, which makes it suck even more. I'll be honest, it sucks. Finally, NBA Finals, Game 4, tomorrow night. Big day, big game. Obviously, last night, an incredible game from Jokic and Jamal Murray. The first time ever you had a 30, 20, 10, 30 point, 20 rebound, 10 assists, triple-double in the finals. And the first time you ever had a 30-plus point triple-double by two different players in one game ever in NBA history. Right now, this Nuggets team, even though there has been some iffy parts on, getting started at certain points, even when they're not playing at their best, they're playing great. That game 2, the Heat caught fire a couple times and were able to make sure they won it, but they barely won it. This Nuggets team is something very special. And I think Jokic, it's crazy to look back a few months ago, we were talking about Jokic versus Embiid, and people were having a serious discussion between those two. I mean, Jokic is a different beast. Out of this world type of talent. And so humble. Incredibly, and I get it. Again, it's one of those boomer things. Oh, back in my day, they just scored the touchdown. They gave the ball to the ref. I get that. That's an annoying, man waves a cloud kind of thing. But at the same time, it's it's kind of refreshing and kind of cool seeing a guy do incredible things and then come out on the camera and say, yeah, I don't really care. Happy we won. Pretty cool stuff. And, I got to take my hat off to the guy. Jokic, what a player, what a guy. I'd be interested to see. I hope that if the Nuggets are able to win this series, that he will stick around in Denver and be a part of the parade. I know usually he likes to get it back to Serbia as quickly as possible after the NBA season, but I'd hope he'd stick around and be around the fans in the parade. For the Heat, they need to regroup. They need Jimmy Butler to step up even more. He's been playing, the stats will show you he's actually playing pretty well. They need the three-point ball to start, hitting a few more times. Max Strus got to step it up. The Strus Goose got to step it up if they want to have a chance in this series. Because you can't be just, bricking it that hard and expecting to stay in it, especially from the three-point range when you have to deal with someone like, with guys like Jokic who are just dominating you on the boards. So, in any case, folks, thank you all for watching and or listening. Please subscribe to Ice Cold Sports on Twitter and at Ice Cold SBRTS on Twitter, Instagram, Ice Cold Sports on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, at Tommy SGAHAN on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. And also go to icecoldsports.com. You can get one of these nice Ice Cold Sports t-shirts. Huh? You like that? Ice Cold Sports t-shirt. Get the back a little bit. Let me see if I can turn around. Give you the back. Bam. It's great radio. Great radio for all you audio-only listeners, by the way. Great radio. Me trying to show off the back of the shirt. American Sports Show with Tommy Gann. Pretty cool stuff. In any case, folks, I'm Tommy Gann, and this has been Ice Cold. Let's go. Sports. See you guys.